Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki. Like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family. What's happening? To the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on? And to New Life Evangelistic Center family, keep up the great work led by Reverend Rice, and a shout out to our cameraman, Bob. On that note, we're going to have another great show, because in studio with me, I have a young man that I just most recently met at a hearing dealing with the St. Louis Circuit Attorney, Kim Gardner. And that gentleman caught my attention because he's written a book that's entitled Race for What? A White Man's Journey and Guide to Healing Racism from Within. And I'm speaking none other than Mr. JD Mass. Well, greetings. I always do a bump.
All right.
All right, then. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you for, taking some time out to be with me. And, we don't just have a few minutes of just straight up conversation, okay?
That sounds great to me.
Okay. When I begin all my programs, I always like for my audience have a little thumbnail sketch of who I'm interviewing. So share with the audience a little bit about who JD Mass is.
So I was raised in University City. My parents wanted to raise me in a diverse area. They grew up in Clayton.
And University City and Clayton is in Missouri for those who might be watching nationally. Okay,
certainly, yes. And so they wanted me to have an experience of being around Black culture. Moved right next door to who became my best friend's family at 4 years old, and I have experienced different forms of my own privilege, different experiences with racism throughout the process, and grew up mostly with Black friends. And as I experienced racism, I just wanted to understand what in our psychology as low melanated folks, what made us want to create a system as such, what made us respond in the way that we did without knowledge of the people that we were, oppressing or angry at, or, expressing hatred or fear or whatever it was. I just wanted to kind of understand that, and I've been on my journey to try to do so.
Well, that's real deep. So in terms of you coming into that kind of consciousness, at what age did you begin to see, something is all jacked up? So
I would say in the third grade, I learned about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I didn't understand what made him so famous, right? To me, what he was saying and what we were learning about him just made sense, and so I didn't quite get it. I didn't everybody feel that way? And so that opened my eyes to even paying attention to, no, they don't all feel that way. And from there, I would say more so when I got into high school and even especially college as a young person that now had to be an adult, learning that the systems were set up in a certain way, and a better understanding of that was.
Now, what your post-secondary education, what college did you, are you degreed?
So at St. Louis University, I ended up there, and that's where I got my degree in finance. And originally, that was my plan, was to get into the banking world, kind of work my way up, and then dismantle the system from the inside. I was very covert in my thoughts. And then as I started to get into there, Nellie's career took off, and Nellie was a childhood friend of mine, and I became involved in
his... singer, Nellie?
Yeah, so okay. I became involved. He's on the cover, kneeling next to me.
Look at you. Look at you. I mean, in terms of the cover, I hope we can get a good shot. You're the sole eyes. All right, go ahead.
So,
I'm
sorry. I got involved in his career to an extent, mostly helping him try to accomplish entrepreneurial goals, and then later on just merging his career with the entrepreneurial. I got to see the impact of the corporate side of the music business on Black culture, and that spurred me to a whole nother level of understanding. through him, I met African Hebrew Israelite community. His uncle was involved. I went to Israel and saw the community.
Did you go to Dimona?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
My sister lives in
I
Dimona.
happen to be there also.
My sister lives in Dimona right now and has been since 2006 when I introduced her. Oh. And so I was heavily involved with them in Los Angeles. I spent 15 years out there. And I learned a whole different mindset from community building and what it took, and how it counters the communities that we were growing up in.
Okay, then. Now, before we go real deep into the book, I want to flip back to how we met.
Yeah.
You know, we were, just most recently, there was a hearing in regards to the possibility of taking the St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner's law license, and a number of people from the community was there, both black and white, you know, some for her and some against, but I think the majority overwhelmingly was for her.
Yes.
And that's how I got an opportunity to meet you. Why were you there?
I was there because, one, I'm a huge fan of Kim and the work that she does. From the moment I met her, she was presenting something that was very different and much more bringing humanity into a space that has lacked it in the criminal justice world. And so my book is my stories and 7 steps to healing. And step 6 is being led by a new mind, in which I refer to Kim and how she is approaching criminal justice, and that new mind that we would need to bring forth the level of humanity that I saw in her right away.
From your perception of the findings and what the findings of the panel is going to recommend to the Missouri Supreme Court, I want to get your thoughts on that, but we don't have to do it on the flip side of this break.
I thank God for Zaki Baruti and all the folks that are working with him that have stood with us all these years to get back into 1411 Locust so we can feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, reach out among those that are in need, and be a beacon of hope to so many that have lost hope. Seems like all hell's broke loose in downtown St. Louis ever since they shut this building down in April 2017. I mean, they've had to put barricades on Washington Boulevard, bring out more police and everything else. Why? We can be that light. We can be that salt that Christ has called us to be if we'll pray together, work together, and do everything we can now to move forward and get into 1411 Locust. The city has approved our architectural plans. The time for us to move forward at this particular time. We need individuals who will help us make various repairs, people of faith that will pray with us and believe God with us for the resources that we need. We need to stand steadfast and see that the city doesn't give in to the big money interests. And there's a lot of big money interests that putting a lot of pressure for on our mayor. You need to pray for our mayor at this particular time, that she'll stand with the poor. There's a lot of pressure on her at this time. And I want to encourage you to just seek God as to what He would have you share. You can write me, Larry Rice, at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. If you feel that there's someone that I need to visit or Chris Aaron needs to visit, call us at 314-421-3020 to make them part of the team at this particular moment. If you'd like to have us come speak at your church, again, you can call 314-421-3020. Ask for myself, Larry Rice, or Chris Aaron Rice. And we'll be happy to come and share this vision. What a great God we serve. And how I thank God for those of you that have been praying, those who have been standing with us throughout the years. The door of opportunity is open, so we can reopen this building and be a refuge to the hurting and the homeless and help provide them with so many things that they need at this particular time. Yes, I believe that God is a miracle-working God, and as we continue to remain steadfast, we're going to see Him do exceedingly beyond what we can even ask or think.
Hear this, you who trample the needy and do away with the poor of the land. Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. You trample on the poor and force him to give you grain. Therefore, though you have built stone mansions, you will not live in them. Though you have planted lush vineyards, you will not drink their wine. For I know how many are your offenses and how great your sins. You oppress the righteous and take bribes, and you deprive the poor of justice in the courts. Seek good, not evil, that you may live. Then the Lord God Almighty will be with you, just as you say He is. Hate evil, love good.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is a young man that I most recently met that we are having a very interesting conversation because he's an author. He's the author of Race for What? A White Man's Journey and Guide to Healing Racism from Within, and that is Mr. JD Mass. And on the other side, we were discussing how we had met at a hearing in regards to the law license of Kim Gardner, the present St. Louis Circuit Attorney. Your perception of the decision that's to be forwarded to the Missouri Supreme Court. And share with the audience that decision from your perception.
My perception is that this is about image, of trying to create an image of her lack of accountability, her lack of talent in her field, and it's just trying to create a discredit of her. I don't think legally they have enough to stand on to really do anything other than this being a media play and political play at this moment.
Okay, because from my understanding, it's supposed to be like a reprimand.
Right.
I mean, do you get that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But it's like you say, a spirit, anything to throw blood at and hope something stick.
Yeah.
So with that said, going back to your book, you just made mention that you have a 7-point plan of dealing with healing racism from within.
Yes.
Now, so let's be clear. So you began to recognize racism when you were about in the 3rd grade, am I correct?
Yes.
And you became to see it even more manifest as you became an adult, also in high school. At that point, when you began to deal with it, seeing it, did you become involved in any movement or what have you to try to address it? When you became, because, sometimes there's different levels people become conscious.
Right.
But they say, damn, this is too hard. I ain't going to do nothing.
So I won't say to the strategic level, like, of being involved in protests or something like that. Mine was always, what can I do to use my privilege to get in and affect change? And I was all about my friends. So, whether I was taking everything back at the mall that they couldn't take back just to exchange, whether it was however I could use my privilege. Sometimes I was bullheaded too, so if I'm arguing with the police, I'm not even realizing that I might be putting their lives in danger, but I'm trying to, stand up for them in ways that I knew I could get away with, not always thinking things through rationally as I would like to have been at that time. But definitely wanted to make the change by seeing if I could impact the system on a much larger scale strategically.
Well, okay then. So, in terms of your guide, and now now I know the question. An example of white privilege.
An example of white privilege that I expressed was my friends took back some jeans that were purchased from them for them that didn't fit.
And your friends, these are black people,
black
Africans?
People. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Melanated folks.
Right.
That at a mall, and I was taking back a shirt that was clearly worn, way too big for me, had ring around the collar, and the person gave them a ton of trouble and gave me none. And so that was just one little eye-opening moment of how much privilege and difference it was for me. But in general, I come from a well-off family that keeps inheriting, and inheritance is a privilege where reparations is being denied for the same reason that we get inheritance from a privilege of culture that was built on oppression.
Well, if your family's well off, tell them Zaki wants some of the reparations directly from them, okay?
I agree.
So, in writing your book then, you got 7 steps, you say.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess the first, though, you got to recognize
Yeah,
racism.
step one, don't take a step at all.
Right. Okay.
Don't run out there thinking you know how to fix it just because you realize you have privilege. And
Right.
so seek some understanding, mainly about what possibly could have created this inside our mind. What psychology and intentions are we dealing with? And then two, just do you even know who you're helping or wanting to repair the situation for? Do you understand that culture or any of that? So
Right. Okay, then. One other question. Now, in your process of understanding, have you read any books that deal with that issue, especially written by Black authors?
I have. I'm not the most avid reader, so I don't want to get into quoting a whole lot, but from early on, I was introduced to Cornel West and Michael Eric Dyson, and then I read Ben Ami's books.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Ben Amin. Yes. Okay, then. So with that said, your book then. Okay, let's go, because we're on a short lease in terms of the time frame.
Right.
What is step one?
Step one is don't take a step, seek some understanding. Step two is to acknowledge the harm.
Now, wait a minute. We got a few minutes.
Okay.
That's 11. All right, give me step one again.
So step one is don't take a step, don't move. Seek some understanding before you run out and try and fix everything, right? And really challenge what low melanated skin meant back in that time period where racism was founded, and what that means, and what caused this bullying action of worldwide kind of massive bullying and destruction.
And I must put in right at that point, because, in terms of opening up the question of literature and reading, there's a book that really deals with racism at the highest level that's documented in a book that's called 100 Years of Lynching. And I would encourage everybody to get that book and read it, and then look at what is real today. But on that note, we'll have to take a break.
There are so many people who work in our community glorifying God with the gifts that they have, and we thank Zaki for doing that regularly with us. You can make a difference too by partnering alongside New Life Evangelistic Center. If you're tired of seeing all of the pain and the hurting around you in your community, and you're ready to get into the trenches and to work alongside a ministry that has been doing this work for so long, consider and pray helping New Life Evangelistic Center to be there when people are hurting. Zaki has done that for many years, and we're so thankful for that. You can be a part of the difference too. You can be a part of the team, God's team, of working to help heal the hurts of hurting people in our community. We would love to partner alongside you. Please contact us soon to get involved with the work of New Life Evangelistic Center.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as often as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America, and pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, 63166.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is the author, JD Mass of Race for What? A White Man's Journey and Guide to Healing Racism from Within. On the other side of the break, we had got into step one, and that step one was to sit down, check it out, and investigate and be prepared. Is that okay? Step two.
Step two is to acknowledge the harm of our culture. And beyond, including anti-Black racism and really getting into depth of how much intentional psychological harm, physical harm, mental, economic, all of these different harms, but also just the harm to the planet that white culture is doing, right? It comes from a very disconnected place, and I get into that in step one. And from that, it's been built to cause harm just subconsciously without even understanding, questioning it, or whatnot. Step three is to be able to let go of our, I'm sorry, am I going too fast?
No.
So step three would be to let go of our privilege, our control.
Wait a minute, now, there you are. Let's go back to step two in terms of, because in that step two, acknowledging all the harm, then would you not say that's just a logical reason to support reparations? Yep. On the real side.
Step five is reparations.
Oh, okay. I'm jumping ahead of you.
That's okay. We're all jumping.
All right, okay then. All right, step three.
Step three is to let go of privilege, let go of control, and let go of our fear of the change, right? And that opens us up to something greater. Now we have open space available. Step four would be...
Let me just say that. You made me just... When people, in terms of change, they be,
I know, exactly. No matter how bad we think we have it, we're still afraid of change.
Absolutely. Okay, then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And so step four is appreciating the value of Black culture specifically, but of all indigenous and Aboriginal cultures, and really starting to learn the value. We walk, dress, talk, and all of that is influenced on a base level, but even greater the amount of greatness that we see that we don't really, we will make it American, but we won't acknowledge it as being Black culture. So step four is to appreciate that value, because now if you have value, the cost of reparations also brings forth a value, and that's my thing with the cost issue. I break down how you can't repair an injury unless you intentionally focus on repairing that injury. But I also say that, we spend money all the time. This idea that this is going to be a cost to us is not relevant, because we haven't even added the value that it could create as well. So step five is reparations. Step six, as I mentioned, where Kim is being led by a new mind.
So you mentioned Kim Gardner in your book also.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so is being led by a new mind. What does that new mind that brings us a level of peace? And this is what I had to go through in working with the African Hebrew Israelites and with Ben Ami's group, is that I had to be sat down, so to speak, and learn a new way of approaching life, a new connected way of doing things. And that new mind leads us to step seven, which is humanity.
I know that's right. Now, if anybody wanted to get a copy of your book, how would they get it?
So you can go to raceforwhat.com. And it's all spelled out, FOR, raceforwhat.com, and through that, either on Amazon as well, or through the website directly, and then soon to be in bookstores.
Okay, so you're just coming out with the book. How long
Yes.
has it been published?
March 29th is when I released it.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay then, that's great. Then, I wish you a great success with it. On the political side, just out of question for you, there's a composition in the United States Congress of 100 U.S. senators, and we got 50 governors. Just a quick quiz on you. Of that 100 U.S. senators, how many are Black?
Senators? I know one might be.
One might be.
Is it?
Of the 50 governors, how many are Black?
I don't know of any So I'm hopeful there's one.
Okay, you're hopeful. Okay, you project one. Man, you were just giving us one. How you don't sit here and deal with?
I don't see my folks.
Wait a minute, we gotta do with this on the other side of the break. Okay.
I hope you're enjoying the Zaki Baruti show. Now we need your help to get the word out about this community affair program and so many others. Now, how do you do that? Well, you tell folks to turn to 24.2 on their television set, and even family, friends, relatives that live outside of the area, well, get them to put the NLEC TV app on their phones and look it up on their computer. 24 hours of wholesome family programming, so much community programming that you're not getting on other stations, right here on NLEC TV. So please spread the word. And while you're doing that, continue to get involved in the work of the New Life Evangelistic Center. So many opportunities awaiting you and your family at this particular time. New Life Evangelistic Center is on the front lines with first responders, directly helping homeless people day after day after day. You may want to drop by and visit them sometime. This is where we record the Zaki Baruti program at 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. New Life Evangelistic Center is offering homeless people so many opportunities to be set free from the cycle of homelessness, has a wide variety of safe houses, and so many women and children are staying there, and they're learning all different kinds of different skills, all kinds of skills here at 2428 Woodson Road. We also have the training centers in New Bloomfield, Missouri, Marshfield, Missouri, the largest daytime walk-in facility, southwestern Missouri, northwestern Arkansas at 806 North Jefferson, in Springfield, Missouri, the worldwide work of the New Life Evangelistic Center in Kakata, India, and then in Lagos, Nigeria, and in Haiti, all over New Life Evangelistic Center trying to help people that are in need. New Life Evangelistic Center receives no city, state, or federal dollars, and we're only able to do this as a result of the prayers and involvement of caring people like you. So please pray for this work, and please partner with the New Life Evangelistic Center so we can continue to keep the Zaki Baruti Show and the other community affair programs on the air. Remember, tell everyone you know about it, and go to the NLEC TV app.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is a young man who has written the book, Race for What? A White Man's Journey and Guide to Healing Racism from Within by JD Mass. We only got a couple more minutes. Okay. On the other side, we were just kidding around in terms of asking you for the centers of power. Would you agree there? You know, in terms of the heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. You projected one out of 150.
Right.
I want to say shame on you, but you weren't too far away from it. Because the reality is only 4. 3 U.S. senators. Not one black governor. So that's less than almost 1%.
Right.
So speak to that real quick.
So one, it's a white cultural thing too, right? And there's a fear of black excellence in white culture. And so in order to maintain our control and privilege, we haven't dealt with what even black culture means to us and what black excellence would look like. And so I just feel like we're just so afraid of losing our status that we don't even focus on being the best version of ourselves and even able to recognize the truth about black culture.
Is there any hope for change ever?
I think so. I think the young folks having the internet now are recognizing change is absolutely necessary. I think when I speak to younger folks, we like to call them lazy and all of these things, and they're saying, no, I'm looking at you. You guys are miserable. You're working so hard, and you want to call me lazy, but you guys are miserable, and you're destroying things. What are you leaving me to be a part of? So I think that there's an opportunity for change. It's going to take some work because there's also powers that want to control those minds as well and influence that. But
absolutely. On that note, though, I just want to thank you for sitting in the chair. And like I always to my audience, you know, at every election you need to show up and show out, as well as focus on the August 2nd, 2022 upcoming election. And as an organization, we're saying vote for Call It Coffee Right. We also say that everyone needs to join an organization that speaks truth to power. We say join the Universal African People's Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you.